so today we have a short video by Miketyson. I'm just gonna go ahead and play the video, and then we'll talk about it, right?
Sometimes when people appear like they're loving people and they're loving everybody else, is because they don't like themselves. I've learned this: the person that is friends with everybody is the enemy to himself. You know.
All right. So that was that video by let's go back real quick.
Sometimes when people appear like they're loving people and they're loving everybody else, is because they don't.
So when people appear that they're loving everyone else, it's a good indication that they don't love themselves, something like that. It's because they don't love themselves. It sounds a little bit absolute. Nothing in life is absolute. I don't disagree with him in many scenarios. Okay, I don't disagree with him, but it also comes off as an absolute. Okay. Because he literally said if people come off as they're loving all these other people, see, what we don't know about a person that comes off as loving other people, what we don't know is that we don't know if they've actually fed their own souls. Okay, we don't know that. Okay, however, what I do know that if you keep giving from an empty cup, you will run dry at some point. You will run empty. And a lot of people do showcase their insecurities in the form of pretending that they love everybody. I've seen that as well. I've seen what he's saying play out in real life. But I still can't judge when a person is doing that in that moment and say, hey, I can't. You see, one of the worst things you can do in life is assumptions, right? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. That's assume, right? So, and that's why absolutes generally don't work in life. So I cannot can I take his words and run with it and say, hey, I'm not going to love anyone else because that would mean I'm not loving myself? That is not true in so many ways. See, if you want to make anything out of life, you're going to have to give. If you want to make big deals, if you want to make big deal transformation, big deal results in life, it's still going to come from giving, right? So, and how else do you give than when you love? The biggest form of giving is loving other people, right? So what I can tell you though is that if you're not giving from a place of abundance, meaning you've given enough to yourself, if you're not doing that, you will burn yourself out because you're not Jesus. It's highly likely you're not Jesus, you're not God. You should definitely make sure you're giving to self first before you attempt to be out giving everyone and be giving to everybody. Now, in regards to business, how does that work? A lot of time I put out lots of videos and people will say, you're putting out all of these videos, are you going to charge for them and stuff like that? Well, here's the thing. I can put out as many videos as I want. I can put out as many how-to videos as I want. It doesn't mean that I'm still not needed in the marketplace. I'll tell you actually a news flash. A lot of times, it actually tells the customers more that they need me. Okay, so in the form of, let's keep it business, right? It's marketing tools, it's marketing materials. It's the same thing in the music business. People put out their songs on YouTube right now, and you can watch it as long as there's a little ad playing on it, right? They're not making a lot from it. The way they make the most money is from the shows, but they give everything out. So can we look at that example and say, hey, if you're giving everything out, it means you don't love yourself? As a matter of fact, I would argue that in a lot of times, it actually means you love yourself so much, you have abundance of it, and it's overflowing into other people. Can we say it that way? Can we also claim it that way? But I see where it's coming from, that you don't want to approach life with, I want to love everyone, without making sure that you love yourself, that you're giving to yourself. From that standpoint, I absolutely agree that you definitely don't want to be moving that way, because you will hurt yourself, because you're not God. Again, you're not God. So it's the same thing when you go out here and you try to build a business and you haven't made sure that you have some things prepared, right? It's the same thing. But in that same token, are you ever going to be completely prepared to get out here and do some business? There is no such thing as completely prepared. It doesn't exist. Basically, what that means is that you will never get started. So if you want to get going and win in life like the winners, at some point, even though you may feel like you're not ready, you have to jump out there. You have to jump basically off the cliff and then figure out how to turn your parachutes on once you get into the air. Okay, and does that mean you can smash your heads in the rocks? Yes, it's risky. Life itself by itself is risky. So that's not the point I'm negating. The point I'm making is that you have to take chances in life. Okay, and absolutes in general is something I always push against. Just because you're showing that you love other people doesn't mean you don't love yourself. That's an absolute statement. If you're reflecting that you love everybody else, it could just mean that you're coming from a place of abundance, right? And you should never look at this kind of video and then question yourself. Well, I will push against myself right now. If you have to question yourself, it means that you were questioning it in the first place. You should go back to the drawing table and make sure that you're giving adequately to yourself. What does that look like? You're reading books, right? You're feeding your soul. You're taking some action. You're reading your own data. The best form of book you can read when you're running a business is take some actions, collect some data, meaning failures, right? Look at it over and see how you can transform things and learn something from your own mistakes. The best place to always learn from is experiences. If people are out there like your mother, like your uncle, try to save you from making mistakes, they're not exactly doing you a favor, because the best teacher is still always going to be experience. You have to get out there and make an experience. The next best teacher is when you have a mentor or a coach that will tell you, hey, don't make that mistake. But even at that, sometimes you have to make that mistake to be able to comprehend, to be able to have the proper context to say, you know what, I understand better because I made the mistake. When you explained the mistake to me, I couldn't comprehend it. It's happened to me before. I know, okay? I know. I'm a guy who stumbled into $1 million 3 times over at the age of 26, and I didn't know what the hell to do with that. I thought I did. If you asked me at that point, I knew exactly what to do with it. But then, you know, the result after the fact, especially when 2008 recession hits, yeah, then a new contest was created, right? But that new contest is a form of failure, but it becomes, again, ammunition. And if anyone would listen to me, they will hear something. Some type of people will say, yeah, I will not make that same mistake. Some other type of people, especially if they're young, they can't hear what I'm talking about. They don't have the comprehension skills or capability. They don't have the comprehension capability to be able to figure what I'm saying out. They have to make that mistake. Maybe not in my exact way, but they will make some kind of mistakes that will also give them their own insights that they can also transfer into other people later on in the form of a book, a textbook, a teaching, a coaching, mentorship, something like that, right? But anyway, the point here is very simple. Just because you're loving everybody else does not mean you don't love yourself. That is an absolute blanket statement, and it's just not true. Okay? But I've seen it play out. It's very possible that it can be that way. All right?